Good day and welcome to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to take a look at the Feast of Wintervale 2024 and basically how you can maximize the Feast of Wintervale and what you can get and everything about it. So the Feast of Wintervale is located in Ironforge for the Alliance characters, and it's located in Orgrimmar for Horde characters. You don't need to be a specific level for a lot of it. You can just basically go and join into the process and have a really good time. There's a couple of tips and secrets that we'll kind of talk about with the event as well, but generally speaking it is pretty straightforward. So what you can do is you can find a festival helper in any major city. They usually give you a quest to head to the feast, and then you can go hand that in and begin your journey with the feast. So one of the main activities that you can do in one of the major components before we talk about side quest chains and other events is the Grinch. So the Grinch is a daily quest. You're a mean one. It will give you a stolen present which can contain a 554 trinket, which isn't too crazy, but it can contain a ton of different items. So it can contain a ton of pets, it can contain a ton of transmog, it can contain toys from previous Winterfests, like it can contain a lot, and it specifically just gives you a ton of all the stuff, so pets, toys, transmog, etc. It's a daily quest. It also gives you 5 bronze celebration tokens, so accepting that will be great. You then need to obviously head to the Grinch. You will have an express transportation character that will be in every main hub, and you can just simply speak to him and request transportation, and they will take you to the location of the Grinch. So that's obviously pretty helpful, and then once you get there it's relatively straightforward. Once you get to the location, it's pretty straightforward. You can then obviously loot the stolen treats, and then it's time to free Madsen the reindeer. This will require you to obviously take on the Grinch, which does not take too long. The Grinch will spawn, and then you can defeat him and you will free Madsen the reindeer. So you just have to basically wait for the Grinch to spawn. Once you defeated the Grinch, Madsen will spawn, and congratulations, you have completed the quest. So pretty straightforward. Beyond that, there isn't too much else that you need to do, so you're pretty much good to go, and then you can head back to hand in your quest. You can head back and then you can hand it in, and you're pretty much good to go. So it's always cool. Like I said, there's tons of great rewards that you can get out of it, and yeah, realistically speaking, it's just something really, really great. Then, as you can see, the Red Raider from 2009, so you can see you can get the older presents. There are a whole bunch of other quests that you can do, which are all actually incredibly simple, like bringing 5 gingerbread cookies and ice cold milk, for example, or speaking to historians inside the library. All of it is really, really super simple, and there's only 2 that I really want to point out. So the first is the Smokywood Pastures thank you gift. This will give you a new quest once you have rescued Madsen, where you can speak to Great Father Winter, and it will give you the pasture rewards, which you can then open up and can contain some really, really cool stuff. Mainly recipes and stuff, but can contain some really cool like gifts and prizes and things that can actually really again just kind of beef up what you get from the event, which is really awesome. And then the other one is the bring 5 gingerbread cookies and ice cold milk. Now this one requires you to obviously learn the recipe for gingerbread cookies and buying ice cold milk. So for the gingerbread cookies, you can buy the recipe from the Smokywood Pastures vendor, which is pretty straightforward. And then for the ice cold milk, you can just buy that from pretty much anyone in any inn. Now obviously you need to know, you know, certain, like, I think you need to just have cooking to be able to do the recipe, so it's not anything too crazy. But yeah, once you've learned that, you can just go buy the ingredients and then finish up that quest. To make the gingerbread cookie, you will need holiday spices, which you can pick up from the same vendor that you bought the recipe from. And then from there, it's as simple as making a fire, selecting cooking, and then making your gingerbread cookies, which is more than fine. Once you've done that and bought the milk from the inn, you can hand it in and you'll get a Smokywood gift pasture pack. This is super important because this gives you fizzy apple cider. And the fizzy apple cider is really, really important because for gatherers, it can increase your gathering speed, which is why I want to list this. The other quests don't really give anything major, but this is just really, really cool. So what else can you do? Well, there's a lot of stuff, small things. So for example, you can find Great Father Pepe. Speaking to him will put a little bird on your head, but also give you a little item that you can use to dress up your Pepe pet. These giant snow globes that you see around will turn you into a little traveler for a bit. That's not super important, but within here there will be a special pet that will spawn. You can see him here, the Globe Yeti, and if you battle him and you take him out, you can obviously net yourself potentially a new pet. So that's obviously always pretty cool as well. There is a secret tameable pet for hunters. To do this, you are going to need to do a little bit of effort. So firstly, you will need to speak to your holiday vendor. You will need to go to the holiday vendor. You will need to speak to him, and then you will have to buy this festive holiday outfit. Firstly, it is pretty cool. Of course, you can buy all of it for your characters, no problem. It's always exciting. There's no reason not to. You can, of course, also buy the patterns to make stuff as well. But yeah, you're going to need to buy these, and you're going to need to equip at least 4 of them. So you'll need to equip like the holiday coat, the belt, the shorts, and boots, for example. So we'll just buy those and transmog it into them. And once you've done that, you're then going to need to head to basically you're going to need to head to the old Hillsbrad Foothills dungeon. So in the Hillsbrad Foothills, which is in the Eastern Kingdoms, you will find the pet, similarly by the Growler's Cave, but the dungeon location. So you will need to go to the dungeon in here, and then you will find a special deer that you can then tame. You do need to make sure that you have the transmog on, and obviously it's only really for hunters to tame, but it is cool. And obviously, you know, if you're a hunter, you may want to have it because it's like a sparkling, glowing nose deer, like a Rudolph. But it is a bit glitchy, so if you can't find it, it's okay. So the Wintervale gift giving will occur basically every year between the 25th and the 2nd of Jan. And every single day of this, you will find 6 presents given by quests under the tree. Now, these different quests basically give you a chance at obtaining, well, give you a whole bunch of gifts. So you're going to want to log in every day pretty much during this time, and you'll secure yourself a whole bunch of gifts. Of course, you will have to log in between the 25th and the 2nd. The quests themselves are super duper simple. They literally take and complete quests, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. But it is probably one of the easiest but also main functions of the celebration. If you go to an inn, you will often see winter revelers. If you /kiss them, then what it will do is it will give you some items. So you will also get a debuff, so you can't kiss them again. But basically, it will give you some items, which is pretty cool, basically. Aside from that, there is a whole bunch of stuff you can get from the vendors. Obviously the transmog, the recipes. You can also grab snowballs, which you can use to throw at players and complete achievements. But generally speaking, there's just a whole bunch of different food stuff and obviously some achievements for the consumption of that. This is the only time you can pick up green ribbon wrapping paper, which obviously allows you to wrap stuff, which is pretty cool. But other than that, it's mainly the festive transmogs and the recipes you probably want to get, as there is some value to be had in those. But generally speaking, the vendor rewards are nothing too crazy. Aside from that, we'll now talk about a couple secret little tips and tricks that I think will give players some really cool rewards, including a potential mount. So that covers like the basics of the Winter Veil, and now we'll talk about a couple little secret things that have been added in over time that players may want to consider doing. So the first is holiday hats. So holiday hats, basically, to cut a long story short, are little transmog items that obviously players can get. So holiday hats are basically these cool Christmas hats, and these are actually relatively easy to get. There's 4 of them: the finely tailored green holiday hat, the finely tailored red, the green winter hat, and the red winter hat. And they basically just come from different bosses. So like, for example, the finely tailored green one comes from different dungeon bosses. So if you go to, like, for example, Battle for Azeroth, and you go to Waycrest Manor, the Raoul the Gluttonous, he can drop the hat during this time. So that's really about it. There's nothing too crazy. The finely tailored green hat can drop from Waycrest Manor, Temple of Sir Rathalos, Blackrock Hold, Eye of Ajara, Eternal Palace, Brackenhide Hollow. The finely tailored red hat can drop from a whole bunch of raid bosses. The green winter hat can drop from a whole bunch of dungeons and raids, and the red winter hats as well. They aren't very easy to get, but basically they are somewhat easier to get because now you can speedrun a lot of this content. Of course, I will leave a link to the Wowhead page for the hats, as they're not necessarily something I think you need to go in depth for. If you want them, they're cool. Otherwise, there's plenty other ways to get them realistically. The next process will actually take place in your garrison. So for this one, you are going to need to have a garrison. You're going to need to have done a character that's at least unlocked the garrison, which is a feature of the Warlords of Tranor expansion. Once you have unlocked the garrison, and especially obviously you'll need a higher level garrison, does make life easier, you will unlock a holiday vendor, and this holiday vendor and the daily quests that follow with it will give you a whole bunch of really cool rewards. So you will find a goblin in your garrison, whether you are Alliance or Horde, it's always a goblin called Izzy Hollyfizzle. And speaking to her, she gives you a whole bunch of options to get both spooky and merry supplies. Now, the merry supplies do some really cool stuff. They let you basically build a whole bunch of, Winter Veil themed, Christmas themed kind of stuff for your garrison, which is always great. But the main thing is obviously getting these merry supplies, and then the savage gift. So getting the merry supplies is very simple. Getting merry supplies requires you to speak to the quest giver next to Izzy, and this will just give you basically daily quests that you can complete to very easily get merry supplies. So it's very, very simple. You can get up to 5 a day. So it's actually really, really straightforward, and honestly, it's actually really, really simple. So that's always something really cool. Once you have the merry supplies, you can buy stuff from Izzy Hollyfizzle. The big thing is the savage gift. The savage gift contains basically random items. Generally, it contains like resources for your garrison, but it does have some rare chances at some like rare items. The very, very low chance of getting the minion of Grumpus mount. So the minion of Grumpus mount, as you can see here, a really cool mount. It shares a model with only like 2 other mounts in the game, and it's a super low chance, but this is one of the only ways you can get this mount, and obviously it's really cool. It's important to note these quests will be scaled to your level, so it's not like the enemies will be super duper easy to get rid of, unfortunately. But they're not too hard, and the enemies don't hit too crazy, so you shouldn't have like any massive issues with clearing them, you know, if you're looking for the supplies. The quests all take place in one position in Frostfire Ridge, and also if you rummage through the snow here, you have a chance to get the Grumpling pet, which is also really cool. So yeah, that's just really rad, I guess. That's all the major stuff, I would say, for like the really cool stuff that you can get during the course of Winter Veil. Obviously, aside from that, there is some other really cool stuff. Certain bosses will have, for example, hats on. For example, you can try and catch High Mountain Great Father Winter, and that will give you some resources. He's in High Mountain. There's certain food and drinks that you can obviously collect and eat for achievements and stuff like that. And speaking of achievements, there is obviously, you know, quite a few achievements correlating to the Winter Veil event. You know, there's earning 50 kills while dressed as a little helper. There's, you know, complete the Bomb Them Again quest while mounted on a flying reindeer. There's, you know, 'Tis the Season, wear 3 pieces of winter clothing while eating a certain, you know, piece of food. All the achievements are not honestly anything too crazy, and if you want to, you're more than welcome to obviously get them. I don't think it's anything too crazy, and it's entirely up to you whether you want to or not. But the main rewards, I would probably say, are a lot of the toys and older cosmetics, and of course the chance at the Grumpus pet, the Grumpus mount, which I think is probably the big attraction point for this celebration. And that's it from me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care, stay safe, and bye.